Welcome to the Profit Strategies Weekly Podcast. Now, here's your host, Tom Gentile.
Hey guys, Tom Gentile. Welcome to the podcast. Typically do the podcasts on Fridays, but today, being Wednesday, we wanted to get this out to you early because, Chris and I got plans. Got big plans. Going to be traveling men. We're going to jet set. No, not that at all.
Tom, Steelers play on Thursday night, Tom.
Absolutely.
I'm busy on Thursday night for sure.
Chris, did you know I was born in Pittsburgh?
I did not. Whereabouts in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so Forest Hills, so in a suburb. But
really?
Yeah. So I grew up in Forest Hills as a kid, and the Mean Machine, and I go back to those days of the '70s, the Steel Curtain, and so I'm a Steelers fan. That's my team. So it's exciting to see that as of right now they are undefeated in a weird year.
You know what's going to be fun about tomorrow night, Tom?
What's that?
Is obviously where's the main office? Baltimore, right?
I know.
Playing the Ravens, so maybe we get some bragging rights over all those other. Yeah,
that's going to be a really good game, and I think a lot of people are going to tune in. Who would have thought the Steelers would have had an undefeated season with less than 50% capacity in their stands? Who would have thought it took less terrible towels
and a Big Ben? Yeah. And a Big Ben that's coming back from being out last year. It's an amazing year. It's a great year to be a Steelers fan. Every year is a great year.
Yeah, it is. So guys, we got three things we're going to talk about today. So obviously we're going to talk a little bit about the markets and what's happened so far in this shortened week of trading. Chris has got something called steel to silver. Steel is the new silver that she's going to talk about. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our Thanksgiving Day plans and, what it means to be going through a holiday season during a pandemic. So that's our three concepts for the day. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll talk about the markets. The markets have been literally doing exactly what we expected them to do. I thought it was going to be a slow burn to the upside, but the Dow crossed above 30,000. That was the first time that has ever happened. That's kind of a really cool milestone. And I remember when the Dow was trading, this is 10 years ago, we were trading at 8,000 just after the financial crisis. And a guy out there, I got to give him props, Chris, because you and I aren't we aren't the holy Moses when it comes to trading. There are other guys out there that were calling it when I was looking at the markets going, all right, because I'm a trader mostly. And, the Hirsch family, those are the guys that publish the Stock Traders Almanac.
Yep.
Jeffrey Hirsch was calling 30,000 Dow in the next 10 years. And okay, so he was off by a year because it took 11 years, but we made it. And you know what? Golf clap to Hirsch. I got to give it to him. Anyway, let's get a little closer to what you and I have been talking about. So, the big runner in this quarter has been Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is just killing it. If we didn't make all-time highs earlier this week, I'm just thinking, Chris, that if we didn't, it depends on what site you were looking at. Because some of the coin dealers said Bitcoin made a new all-time high, and some of them said it fell just shy of it. But let's call it what it is. It's back to the 2017 levels. 3 years ago, as we were in the holiday season, Bitcoin made it into that 19,000 club, 20,000. And here we are again.
It's an amazing thing to watch. It really is.
It's incredible. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but we've been calling this now for months, and I have been in like Flynn when it comes to cryptocurrency, and I have no desire at all to move out. Now, I made mention on a webinar or two that that I'm long term. Everybody knows I'm long term, but I also trade cryptocurrency too. So I have a couple of different accounts, and one of them that's just pure crypto. That is my ownership account. And in fact, earlier this week, I bought more Ethereum at 600. Just to show people how bullish I am on this. And, Ethereum, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But if you take a look at Bitcoin, I've owned it since I was mining it in 2013. But I also have an account, which is a trading account, which I do Bitcoin and crypto derivatives in. And I started to unload those as we hit that new high, because why not take a profit? As a trader, you buy and sell. As an investor, you look to own and create maybe even generational wealth. But the big news wasn't Bitcoin this week. The big news was Ethereum. Ethereum, if you take a look at charts, and I got to visualize it here on the podcast, but I want you to think about something. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, most of these guys all kind of move lock and step. Some a little more, some a little less. But in the month of November, Ethereum has been on fire and has more than doubled the percentage rate of return than Bitcoin. And here's why. Back in 2017, when Bitcoin hit the almost 20,000 a coin, Ethereum was at $1,200 a coin. This thing was on fire, it was smoking. Well, it smoked the way up and it smoked the way down as it went down to 100. And so as Bitcoin has made it back to its all-time highs, Ethereum isn't even half the way there. It kind of reminds me of what the NASDAQ did, after the 2000s, after the dot-com. A lot of us, most of you listening to our podcast, you're kind of in, I like to say you're in my age group, okay? but there's some of you that aren't, that don't know about what the birth of the internet, the birth of dot-com stocks, which really happened in the late 90s. And everything was on
99.
fire then. And the NASDAQ went up to 5,000. And I remember the E-Trade commercials, the NASDAQ at 5,000, and then it just plummeted after that. And it took a lot longer for the NASDAQ to come back and cross its all-time highs than it did the Dow and the S&P. And
15 years, right?
Yeah, and that's what it feels like right now with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's back to its all-time highs, but Ethereum is only half the way there. So Ethereum is having a rubber band effect right now in pulling itself up much higher percentage levels. That's the point that I wanted to make. The other point I wanted to make, Chris, is this, and I'm going to ask you the question. Are there stocks right now, optionable stocks, that move with Bitcoin?
There are a few. We've talked, absolutely. We've talked about a couple of them. Overstock, I know, is one that nobody guesses that has any tie to crypto, and it does. And then, of course, PayPal.
Yeah. And there's a reason. So as we talk about Overstock for a moment, there's kind of a reason. There's a reason Overstock.com moves with Bitcoin. And the biggest reason that I can come up with is they were the first, if not one of the first, to offer Bitcoin as a payment method on their website. Now, they were a lot more leveraged back then with Bitcoin than they are now, but a lot of people look at Overstock and they say, all right, well, if I want to benefit from the rise in cryptocurrency, but I don't want to go out and learn about it and have to open another account and go through the pains of learning a new platform. That's one way of doing it, finding a stock like Overstock.com.
You know what, Tom? Also, there's a weird word, and it's not so weird. I'm saying that kind of facetiously, but diversification, if I dare say it. What if you're a person that got into Bitcoin when it was at a top and saw it plummet, and now you're kind of sitting there going, ooh, is this going to be another Wile E. Coyote moment for Bitcoin? At least if you're in a PayPal where you have a connection with Bitcoin, you also have an underlying business that doesn't put all of your eggs in the Bitcoin basket. And I understand.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I mean, and if you're one of those people that believe that Bitcoin is worthless and it's going to go to zero and the government's going to shut it down and it's going to be worthless, then you have a little bit of extra padding there in the fact that PayPal and Overstock.com don't have all of their entire company wrapped up in Bitcoin. It's just one little cog in their revenue and earnings stream.
Yeah. So what about PayPal going to new highs today too? We're just about, as I look at it, just about.
It's and then the other one I want to mention is Square. because Square and PayPal have a lot in common when it comes to Bitcoin. They're adding to their platform. They're giving people the ability to pay using Bitcoin. They're giving people the merchants the ability to use it as a tool, a payment processing tool, and so they're going to definitely benefit. And I think when I look at I look at Coinbase. And you and I are doing this, this podcast here just before noon on a Wednesday. But when you look at Bitcoin, it's trading near its highs for the year, very close to all time highs. And I look at this and I think if this thing breaks out above 20, which I believe it's going to real soon, we break above 20,000, and you're going to see these stocks start to pop like Bitcoin is doing. They're already making new highs for the year, but I think you're going to see them really start to accelerate as more and more news comes out. The ticker will be back on CNBC again.
The dreaded
that
ticker.
Was always the top for me. When I saw the ticker over there, I thought, okay, you know what? It's time to sell the news. I haven't seen the ticker, I haven't seen the ticker in real time for any great length of time. But
yeah, mine is always when the cabbie or somebody else tells you, you should be buying it. But it's the same thing. Hey, you know what? I've got another one. I just had to look it up as we're sitting here talking, and it's a stock that I recently featured in Fast Profits. PagSeguro Digital, PAGS. Tom.
PAGS, yeah.
PAGS. They brought in some of the Ripple founders here, and they're working on crypto as well. So they're another digital payment platform just in South America. So there's another one to add to the bunch. Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. And you know what? I think, I'm going to pass the baton to you. And why don't you have a quick conversation with the listeners about steel becoming the new silver?
Yeah, you know what? This is one of those things that happened. You've had those moments, I'm guessing, where you say something and you can almost see the words out there hanging in their mouth in front of you, and you go, "Wow, what did I just say?" 2 weeks ago, and it was just after the election, talking to some people on a live stream, and we've been watching silver, as you and I've talked about, silver being a trade to hedge the dollar, and it's going to get a boost whenever they get a fiscal stimulus package together. But it's just kind of hanging out there waiting. Actually, silver is getting pummeled right now. And I started looking at steel because when you look at 2021, you start to think about infrastructure. And living in Cincinnati, a cute little side story, the bridge that goes over the Ohio River for I-75 and I-71, it is the artery of getting stuff across the river, caught on fire 2 weeks ago. So we are screaming, and this is the same bridge that Donald Trump stood in front of and Obama stood in front of and said, we're going to work on infrastructure. It's going to happen this time around.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that with steel, and I said, all right, steel, concrete, United Rentals, what else is an infrastructure play? And at the same moment, I said, well, steel's the new silver in terms of a commodity because it is going to be more valuable because of the infrastructure. And I'll be darned, steel's up 25% in the last 2-3 weeks. If you look at the SLX, which is the ETF that trades it. And when you look at a company that you and I both are familiar with, that big carbon looking building in downtown Pittsburgh, US Steel, that stock is up 95% since the beginning of October. So steel is the new silver. That is my mantra now. It's up 35% just since the election.
That's funny.
Steel
that you're a Cincinnati native, and I was born and spent a lot of my childhood in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh, and my father worked for U.S. Steel. My mother worked for Bethlehem Steel, and they must have met at some steel convention. All I know is that it's amazing seeing a company that was literally on the verge of dying. My father, so my father saw it well enough when we started importing steel from Japan back in the 70s to get it out of the industry. And then he decided to become a surveyor and work for the state. And working for a state doesn't mean the state of Pennsylvania. It means whatever state is interested in taking you on. So we started moving around at that point, and I said, bye-bye, Pittsburgh. It wasn't for, I was a kid. I was forced to move along with the family. And we lived in a lot of states east of the Mississippi. But I remember U.S. Steel, and I know the history behind it because honestly, I watch the History Channel a lot, and you see a company that has absolutely nothing to do with technology, has nothing to do with healthcare, has nothing to do with what's going, what are the up and comers, and yet all it takes is the U.S. dollar getting crushed, along with a plan, like you said, to rebuild infrastructure. And hello, steel.
Yeah, look at it. And you know what's interesting when you say that, Tom? And my ties to Pittsburgh are, my grandfather was on the board at U.S. Steel at one point. He was a director of sales. My father worked 45 years for AK Steel here in Cincinnati, which was just bought by Cleveland Cliffs last year. But so the steel blood is thick here. But to see now, and this is going to be interesting, Pittsburgh has become a technology hub.
It has.
Robotics and alternative energy because of Carnegie Mellon. Yep. And even Lordstown Motor, which is in Ohio, but a 45-minute drive from Pittsburgh. It's going to be interesting to see if the steel industry combines with the technology that has revived that city, because the whole reason the city of Pittsburgh went down in the dumps is because the steel industry collapsed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The void's been filled by technology, but now if it comes back, is there going to be a technology steel play here somewhere?
Very well could be. Oh. And, the other thing I noticed when you said steel is the new silver, the things that go through my ADHD mind is commodity prices. Which, I'm a big buyer of commodities when they are, I have a long-term system with commodities it hasn't failed me long term, and that is you just simply look for the 5-year lows and you buy them, because eventually, something that's that cheap, people are going to stop producing it, stop growing it, stop, whatever it comes to the supply. And even if demand doesn't kick up, the lack of supply will push the price higher. That's just been a long-standing rule of mine. And, back not even a year ago, you could find commodity after commodity and ETCs, exchange traded commodities, that were near their 5-year lows. Go look now. You can't find them anywhere.
Oh, there's one that still has me questioning things. DBA, the agricultural ETF. It's corn, wheat, soybeans.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And that thing just keeps driving down.
Yeah. That could lead into an entirely different podcast where you got to be careful with some of these ETFs, ETCs, because their management fees are too high to overcome the price swings. Or the other problem with some of these are that the manager is buying short-term futures contracts.
There you go.
And
slippage.
There is a spread between cash price and futures price that constantly just gets eaten away. It's like they're buying out of the money calls. For those of you that don't understand futures, think of it that way. These managers keep buying out of the money calls to pretty much, they look at the demand of people that are buying the ETF, and they've got to meet that demand by actually having a position in that actual commodity. Look at USO. This is a real good one as an example, where the manager continues to buy short-term oil contracts to meet all the demand of the buyers coming in to buy USO. They have to balance that out. And that's part of, you saw what happened in March and April last year when oil was, you got paid to take oil away.
It was flipped on you. Yeah, exactly.
So you got to be careful when you look at those. But do your homework on it. But overall, the message I'm trying to give everyone is that commodity prices, and when I say commodities, think about what you put in your tank. Think about what you put in your mouth. All right, food prices, things are going higher. And a lot of it is the result of the decline in the U.S. dollar. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, Chris, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
So we're taking it the Dr. Fauci route here. We've got family that's all over the place, and we're kind of laying low, but we're still having those family moments, playing Monopoly online while we're zooming, and it's going to be a funny one. Everybody, I don't know about your family, Tom, but we sat around and we kind of thought about this for a while. And it finally turned into, I try to be a silver lining kind of guy about these things. And I finally said, you know what, 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say, hey, remember that Thanksgiving where we played Monopoly on our computers and we Zoomed? And everybody's going to have a little bit of a smile. I think we'll come out of this and go, oh my God. And we're dropping food off at separate houses, the whole nine.
Oh, that's cool, man. That is awesome. I'm kind of the same as you. So, this is going to be a weird Thanksgiving because of the pandemic. And I'm a rules trader. I'm a rules-based trader, guys. I like rules. And so when someone gives me a rule, I tend to stick to it. And that's the same thing. The rule is, kind of 10 or less is what we've kind of heard. And so we got 10 that are coming, that are right here locally. So I know they're not doing anything, that's going to get them in some sort of an issue to bring something into my household. But the folks up in New York, which typically come down and we have a group of 20 to 30 for Thanksgiving, that's not happening this year. So they're dining up there, we're dining down here, and we're going to put the big screen on, and we're going to FaceTime. So, we'll have the big screen on, so we'll see them and they'll see us. And it will feel like they're there, but, it kind of won't be the same. So, that's... And speaking of rules and speaking of the pandemic, I got to tell you, I really do. I can't wait until we're beyond this. I feel in my gut, Chris, that we're going to be dealing with this for another year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this, everybody's excited because they see the end of the pot at the end of the COVID rainbow, if you want to call it that. But that vaccine isn't going to be around and injected into the majority of people for, I'm going to say, another year. And so I think we got to deal with another year of this. And what bothers me about that is, I see the toll that it's taken on my parents, my in-laws. And, you and I got a lot to be thankful for. Oh. And I'll tell you what, the number one thing we got that I think about is, wow, could you imagine having a job where you had to go to, you went to work and your pattern was going to work every day. And then it got taken away from you. And now you got to rely on some other means of income. You got to rely on the government, which, they did their job earlier in the year. And unemployment benefits have been extended. But I mean, we're now down into the role of politics, and that people are entering. There's a group of people that are entering the holiday season that I got to tell you, depression is the word that comes to mind. But let's talk about me and let's talk about you for a minute. There are certain worries that you and I don't have. And the worries of paying bills, I don't have those worries. All right. I remember what it felt like to have them. That's for sure. But I don't have them now. I don't have them today. And the thing that I think about is that even in my world, you take that equation out, there's still, my parents and my in-laws. I see depression because they're living their golden years out. I'm going to give you a case in point. My mother-in-law. All right. So my mother-in-law, we ended up buying, she's in her 70s. She's at the point now where, I have my winter residences in Florida. And I live in a nice community where, let's face it, every house looks the same. I come home at night, and sometimes I have trouble finding my house because they all look the freaking same. That's the price you pay to live in the gated community and live in that non-maintenance lifestyle, which is one of our houses. And so, I was lucky enough to buy the place next door to me, and I'd been waiting for this thing to go for sale for years. I bought the place next door to me because my mother-in-law used to live a couple blocks from us. She couldn't find our house. She could not walk to our house and find it because they all look the same. So I bought the house next door, And this is my justification. And it really, I did not realize this a couple of years ago, but it worked out really well for me, is that I moved my office from an office there because I don't need to commute. We don't need to commute. Let's face it. I don't need that big shiny office on Wall Street. And at years and years ago, it was kind of cool to have a address on Wall Street. But work from home, and who'd have known I was ahead of that curve? And so what I did was I got the house and I got the office because I needed some separation. And so my walk to work is a couple 100 feet from one house to the next. And so she benefits because she knows where we live now. All she's got to do is come out the front door and take a right and go to the next house. I benefit because I have my office. My entire studio is in, a big chunk of this house. So that's great. And I didn't realize a couple things, how thankful I am that I can still separate work and home by just simply walking to work and walking to the house next door. But here's what's going on that I didn't realize. My mother-in-law, who's Italian, she's old school Italian. She comes in, ciao, kisses you on the cheek, left, right sometimes. If Italian kisses you on the mouth and it's not your spouse, that's a problem.
Look out. Hold on.
That's the kiss of death.
I got a litmus test here on how Italian she is. Sauce or gravy?
She says sauce.
Okay, that's it.
She's sauce.
Yep.
And she's either the red sauce, the white sauce, or the green sauce.
Or is there a meat sauce?
No. She doesn't. I don't eat meat. That's what she says. And I only eat organic. That's that's it. Of course, she'll throw the Klondike bars down. Somehow she justifies that Klondike bars and candy do not hurt her. But meat, she doesn't eat meat. She doesn't eat chicken. She's a vegetarian, full on vegetarian with a side order of crap. And what I call that, I mean, that's the ice creams, the candies, the chocolates, and So
does she cuss at you in Italian when she gets angry? Does she start cussing in Italian when she gets angry?
I wouldn't know, honestly. I would not know. I do know that she starts her sentences in English and she ends them in Italian, so I don't understand half what she says.
Well, that's
okay. So we got off the train track here. Let me bring you back to the train track, everyone. So the thing is that she's a spoiled woman. She has no issues at all. She doesn't have to worry about money. She doesn't have to worry about anything. All right. But here's the thing. This year, she's not kissing anybody. She's not allowed to kiss anybody because, we don't want her catching a virus. It's amazing the little things that cause depression because she's actually starting to regress and we see it. And my mother, the same thing's kind of happening too. My mother's, I'm not full Italian. My mother's German. I like to laugh because if you ever watch Indiana Jones, the episode where him and his father are tied up together, and the blonde woman comes over and kisses Indiana Jones and says, "This is how we say goodbye in Austria." And then the German guy comes over and smacks him in the face and says, "And this is how we say goodbye in Germany." That's my mother. She's she's the complete opposite. But even her, I can see that the face-to-face communication that we're all so used to, that we were used to until earlier this year, it's taken a toll. So as much as I can, I've been FaceTiming my parents, and just trying to make it as normal as possible. But I haven't seen my mother. She lives in a different state. I haven't seen my mother in a year now. And, I'm used to seeing my family, my extended family, and my extended family I see a lot, but I'm used to seeing my mother at least during holidays. And it's weird not seeing her. And I know it's weird for her not to see me or any of my siblings. That's what I'm seeing as a big difference out there. So.
Well, maybe we can be thankful in advance for 2021's Thanksgiving, maybe being closer to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and if there's one more message that I want to get out there before we end our podcast, it's this. All right, so what happens the day after Thanksgiving, Chris?
Well, leftover day and shopping.
It's funny. It's the first thing that came out of your mouth. Oh, leftover day.
Oh, it's leftover day.
I wasn't even
Everybody
thinking
knows
about that.
Everybody knows a turkey sandwich is better the second day.
No, I'm thinking about Black Friday and the fact
No,
that
it's already happened, right?
it has. I mean, Black Friday was the day after Halloween.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that I'm starting to realize a little bit of why I've been seeing the Christmas commercials happening in the last several weeks. And it looks like, I mean, this is the retailer. This is the on the record. Oh, we want to get shopping started early because we want to make sure that the crowds are not all coming in on Black Friday and during that weekend. Yeah, right. The reason you're starting early is because Amazon started early. Let's get it straight. But let me mention this too. This is to all the procrastinators out there. And I fit that bill. All right. We've kind of been baited for the last few weeks on TV. And, and think about this, guys. Holiday shopping, they're expecting online sales to jump 35% this year. That's because a lot of us are already used to buying online. We've gotten used to it. People that never shopped online before did it this year out of necessity. And now they realize, hey, this isn't so bad. Having having everybody deliver everything I need to me. That's going to happen, and that's what's going to spike this. The other thing that's going to happen is, a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's going to be a terrible holiday season because everybody's going to be so worried about the pandemic. Listen, when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, which we just saw in the last couple of weeks, people are going to have a better feeling. You've got a perfect storm happening here, Chris. You've got online sales that are definitely going higher. You've got people are not going to be attending parties, or they're not going to be traveling either, which means they're going to have more money to spend on gifts. And so I think it's going to be a banner year this year. And I also believe that it is going to be a nightmare for companies like FedEx, UPS, the U.S. Post Office, all the shippers that are going to be out there. I mean, they're already hiring extra drivers like crazy, but I'm just saying this to those of you that procrastinate. Think about that holiday shopping list early, because I think that drop dead date that they talk about, you got to buy by this day or you're not going to receive for Christmas. I think that's going to have to be increased a bit.
Oh, yeah. All right. You ready for my my Christmas shopping stock?
Absolutely.
Outlook. Amazon versus Etsy.
Oh.
It's kind of a feel-good story. Etsy is going to outperform Amazon. And you owe me an ice cream. You owe me a Klondike bar. You have to take one from you're going to have to take one. But Etsy's going to outperform Amazon by more than 20% by the end of the year. And here's the reason. Everything you just said is true. We're all shopping online. We're all going to spend more money. But one of the things that you're seeing people grab onto now as part of that silver lining, as part of that, what can we make of the situation, is they're shopping from small businesses. And Amex has got their Small Business Saturday coming up. And I hope people, if they're going to go out and shop, try to hit a small business. They're hurting right now. But Etsy, I think, gets some of these orders that they wouldn't see just because people are not going to give Amazon their money. They'd rather give it to somebody making something on Etsy. There's my forecast, my feel-good forecast on the shopping.
So Etsy's $144 stock. This is not a cheap Christmas present to buy if you're looking at this long. And it's also up nearly 5% today before Thanksgiving.
Amazon's a $3,200 stock. That's a really expensive one. That's like putting a bow on a card in front of the house. But anyhow, Etsy, tell me where you were going, because I hear you going somewhere.
Well, we can always look at options as an alternative form of investment. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense. You could get these stocks. I mean, I think about these stocks going into the holiday. You could get that buy the rumor, sell the news thing, where everybody's buying the rumor about Black Friday. We could see a little pullback on Friday itself for stocks like this. But yeah, I'm with you. This is a good. I didn't even think of this one, Chris. That's why you and I get together.
Nah, it is. 170 is my target by year end, Tom. I know that's a little bold, but 170, that's another 20% from here.
Nice. All right.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us on our Thanksgiving week special of the Profit Strategies podcast. We are awesome, just so happy, and I want to say thankful. And the last thing I'm going to say before we bail out of here, guys, is that I want to other than my wife, who I married many years ago, who I inherited that extended family from, the career that I chose on Wall Street that led me to her. I also want to give thanks to all of you that are listening to this podcast, my students, my members, my friends. Life as a trader can be very boring if you want it to be. All you really need is a screen and internet access and a platform to trade with. But, I just get the benefit both ways. And not only do I do this, but I get to share knowledge. I get to share experience. And I'm most thankful for that. So thanks a lot, everybody. Chris, as always, great having you on the program.
Amazing time, Tom.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and the family.
You as well.
And
please have a safe one and a healthy one.
Absolutely. We'll see you all next week. Bye now.